Guys, I've got Chris Green here. We're sitting down today because he's 6 foot, what?
6'4".
6'4", and I'm 5 foot midget, right? And it's better this way so that my neck doesn't hurt looking at me. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us today. And cricket. Like when, why, what, how? Like tell us a little bit about that genesis.
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess from the beginning, I was born and raised in South Africa in a big tennis family. So funnily enough, my mum and dad both played professional tennis, played at Wimbledon. Yeah, and met playing tennis. Mum being English, dad South African. They eventually moved to South Africa, had my brother and I, and we had a tennis court at our house in South Africa, so I grew up playing tennis. So I was from the moment I was walking, I was playing tennis. I don't really remember where cricket came in. I think it was just one of the many sports that I tried, and cricket and soccer were the sort of two that took place with tennis. But like my first memory of cricket was I was watching on the telly with my dad, and we were watching South Africa play, and I'd obviously been playing a little bit before, and he said, you know, if you want to play cricket, model your game on this guy, and this guy was Jacques Kallis.
Oh wow!
One of the greatest all-rounders, if not the greatest.
If not,
yeah, carried South Africa for many years, and so that was pretty cool. And we were talking about his slog sweep. So that mum and dad had like a long bedroom passageway, and he was throwing me like tennis balls. You know those signature bats?
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, we're going to practice this, and I want you to slog sweep, hit it up into the wall.
But the tiny little signature bats,
practice slog sweeping, hit it up against the wall, and it would rebound and go back to him. So I hit a couple, was missing, and then I got this one clean. I remember it vividly. It went straight through the window, smashed the window, and he's like, yeah, good shot. Let's go outside.
Yeah, good shot. That would be $200.
Yeah, so that was like my first, really vivid memory of cricket, sitting down, watching with my dad. I was playing sort of junior level or just mucking around on the tennis court then. And then we moved over to Australia in 2001 when I was 7. And that's where I probably started getting involved in more junior club cricket. I think it was called Kanga cricket at the time, which is now Milo cricket. And progressed through, school and club cricket, played some rep cricket for North Shore. And then my high school was, I guess, where cricket for me started to take shape. Tennis was probably my number one sport in terms of ability, maybe. But then my love was for both of them, and I could never decide. And it got to 18, I remember writing my SATs to go to American colleges for tennis, and I thought that was my way. And then my way of deciding was, after writing my HSC, was, you know what, I don't want to leave Australia. And that was my way of choosing cricket. I just enjoyed my last season, and it sort of came about from there.
I actually like it as a metaphor for life. And I think you probably thought about this at some point. Like, I remember playing cricket. I've never been tall at all, so I always struggled as a batsman, because throw short ones. It doesn't have to be a bouncer, it just be a good length, it can be a net. When you're batting, you got to guard your wicket like it's your life. And cricket's a good metaphor. It's got lots of good metaphors about life, respecting opportunities, not taking calculated risks. There's an enemy that wants to take your opportunity to win. What lessons do you draw out of cricket, help you in life? Like, is there good metaphors that you've drawn out of playing cricket?
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think there's many values that cricket's derived in and helped me become who I am. I think being the gentleman's game. I think cricket, along with arguably golf, are two that have that coin term where it's just not cricket or it's just not golf if it doesn't really, if it's deemed unsportsmanlike. So for me personally, more recently, I think gratitude has been one of the greatest things that I've sort of been able to get out of playing cricket is just to be, grateful for where I am and the opportunities I'm getting, and that's flowed back into my life. I've become really grateful for now that I've reached this stage, for the the platform that my parents have laid for me at such an early stage in life. Like, we moved over from South Africa to Australia purely based on my parents were unsure of the security for my brother and I in determining our futures. They wanted a better future for my brother and I, so they packed up their lives, which was our life, moved to Australia where we didn't know a soul, had no family. The family's probably further away from mum in England, far away from dad's family in South Africa, and the four of us sort of took it on together, and getting gratitude through the opportunities that I've been getting to play the game that I love. I've sort of had that time to reflect and go, you know what, I'm really grateful for the sacrifices that my parents made for our family.
That's really good.
Which in turn is given me these opportunities to become me.
It's really important because I meet a lot of people who are at the top of their game, so to speak, and it's really easy to forget where you come from. Talk us through a little bit how you got into mental health as a topic and as a passion.
I think unfortunately and also fortunately a sad set of circumstances happened for myself and my close friendship circles to become more aware of that whole mental health space and people going through tough times. And it wasn't like through school we were always like we thought we were a really close sort of year group and friend group. The majority of us were really close. There wasn't too many little fragmented groups like as a whole year group. I think we had it was really special. I know I'm obviously biased, but we really felt like we had a really good understanding of everyone. And there's still bullying that happens, etc. But one of our close mates he slipped through the cracks. He started missing a lot of school. And we just thought like he said, no, I'm sick, and his parent like, where's Nick today? And he was sick, and then it got to a point where we didn't see much of him, and it was he's just staying in bed with glange, was what we were told, and unfortunately he took his own life very unexpectedly because we just didn't see it coming. He was very he didn't have a broken home. His parents were very loving from all our perception as sort of young adolescent kids. So that sort of, everyone was that happened quite soon after school, and it sort of really hit us. And another, prior to that, one of my best friend's dads took his life. And that was like, it seemed really close together. So it's sort of just some really cool people within my friend circle stood up and said, you know what, this isn't good enough. We need to become more accountable of our friends around us, and it sort of flowed on through all of us and going, you know what, we need to continue to check in with each other. And we've now it's almost become like an unwritten law. If you don't hear from someone for a while, it's like you message them, you see what they're up to, you take an interest. And we've got that sort of saying, you're never too busy for a friend. If someone keeps saying, nah, sorry mate, I'm too busy, when they're in town, like obviously I travel a lot overseas, and similarly my mates travel a lot overseas and interstate, but if we know that we're home and we keep coming back, and I'm too busy, we just become quite forceful and go, come on, what's going on?
That's brilliant.
Have I done something wrong? Let's catch up. What are you doing Wednesday? And it's now Monday, so you're actually forcing a date in mind just to see that everything's okay. So that sort of started me on it, and I was like, my position, I'm in the community or in society, I'm starting to get more influence or meet more people, and I thought, I want to continue to raise that awareness and share that awareness that we have naturally, I've built, naturally within my circles to a broader and wider community, and that's why I reached out to Are You Okay? Because that sort of resonated really well with me, is going, that is reaching out to people going, are you okay? Or to me is, no, okay, well, yeah, and they say yes, and it's like, are you really okay? And then hopefully it starts a conversation, is let's go for coffee, let's get dinner. And if something does come out, then I would be like helping them in the right direction to seek more professional help should they need it, or becoming that regular touch point to be like, hey, how's it going?
Raises the question, we've got our phones in our pockets, and a lot of people from the surface would think that we're connected more than ever. You know, we see each other like, oh, I just saw Chris online the other day, you know,
Yeah.
It's popped up.
Yeah, again, I sort of lead it to that too busy excuse, and you know, just seeing someone's story or post on Instagram or on Facebook and going, oh, okay, Chris seems okay, he looks like he's having a lot of fun with his cricket, but actually, you know, I haven't seen him for 3 months, and he's in Sydney. He's been seemingly busy, like looking like he's doing some cool stuff. I haven't seen him for 3 months. That's unusual.
So these things can't be the substitute for what you're saying, which is like connection is more than. Would you say there's almost like levels of connection that we have today? Like to see you on Facebook or Instagram would be like maybe real like low.
Yeah.
Like as a gauge of, oh, I've seen Chris. You've seen him literally, but you haven't really seen him in an intimate way. Or
Yeah. No, I definitely think that's the low level, and you know, naturally, the vast majority of people will post falsified emotions because we're worried. Like naturally, as human beings, we worry about what other people may think, and a lot of people are posting for other people, you know, to try and get likes, and everything's about getting likes or comments. So you're almost falsifying potentially what your true emotions might be, and I think personally, but I believe that we all long that one-on-one connection and actually being able to talk and look each other in the eye and get a clear understanding of what they're up to or how they're actually doing or what they're going through. And I think that's, you know, part of, for us, building a really good friendship, but then also a really good relationship as well, and you know, discussing where that takes you. Whereas, you know, you can only do so much online and you can't convey emotion. Even if I text you saying, hey Matt, how you going? And you're like, yeah, cool. It's just a 2-word response. I can derive that as going, oh, something's up because he put a full stop at the end of cool. He didn't ask me how I'm going.
100%.
But you're just like, yeah, I'm chilled, man. I'm having a great day. I can't gauge that. I have to guess.
With your platform right now, with like your success and your journey, it's really great to see that you're using this opportunity to talk about such things, very important things. Tell us a little bit about how you bring this kind of stuff into the cricket world. So like, you know, do you see other players that might, you know, do you still do those same principles of checking up on people? Do you notice that now with players that might be a bit down or something like that? Or do you often hold yourself accountable to somebody? Is someone holding you accountable? Like some of the older players, you know, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's something that I feel that I can never be too good at, and you know, there's, for me, it's getting over. I think the biggest challenge for me personally is getting over that fear of, you know, I'm a young up and comer. How can I go and approach a guy who's had an amazing career and who's one of my heroes? And I've sort of been through that. And as I sort of mentioned earlier, I grew up idolising Jacques Kallis. My first year I got signed by the Thunder. Jacques Kallis was the overseas player.
Oh,
so I got the opportunity
wow.
to play with Jacques Kallis for 2 years, and in the second year that he was then my second year, we won the competition. So like, I achieved something that I never would have dreamed of, and that's my greatest memory of the game of cricket to date, is that I got to play with my childhood hero.
That's pretty cool.
Which is really cool. But the first year, you know, I couldn't talk to him. I was too scared to talk to him. So I've definitely got to continue to try and overcome that fear, and I'm getting better at it. But it's just about, I think, to go back to your question, it's just about, you know, if you do see something, and we're now, like, what I'm doing is so in and out of different tournaments. You're there for a short time, you're sort of a contractor, if you like. You're coming in, you play your trade, you do your best for that team, you try. If you don't do well as a team or as a collective, then you fly straight out. You've got no real attachment. And who I am, I get really attached to that team or that culture or that country. And it's like, you know, I really want to do well here, and I sort of often long for that opportunity to go back and keep that point of contact. And I think it's just, again, there's so many emotions and potential for us to focus purely on results as athletes, and that's where, you know, I've learnt more and more for myself is staying very present and process focused and process driven rather than results focused.
That's really good.
And a lot of guys, you know, going through tough times can become focused on results. It's like, you know, I had a bad day today, or I didn't get picked for the team. And I think that's where naturally, particularly younger guys, I'm a lot better at reaching out and going touching based, or becoming better at touching base and going, you know, it's okay, it happens. You know, it just happens to all of us. I've been through it. You're going to remember this, and you've got to try and turn it. I always try and turn it into a positive scenario and put myself in their shoes and go, you know, when I was dropped, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm angry or I'm frustrated. Those natural raw emotions that come straight away is like, okay, but I don't want to detract from the team. How am I going to use this to make me better? Or how can I use this to my advantage? Is it an extra bit of motivation? Is it, you know, I need more clarity around my role? So it's turning that mental focus from, oh, why me? Why has this happened to me? Where you can go in that downward spiral and, you know, sort of beat yourself up about to go, well, what I need to do? What now do I need to do? What's required of me? How can I best support the team? So to straight away adapting that focus. I need to probably get better or more confident in talking to more people that even if I don't know, and I think that's something that, you know, us in society don't do enough. We could see someone struggling, but just because we don't know them that well or don't know them at all, won't go up to them because we're just unsure.
Yeah, we've seen yeah, absolutely.
Whereas I feel there's nothing to lose in doing that. There's nothing bad that can come from it. I reached out to a lot of people, and that's the beauty of these competitions, is you gain access to bring it into cricket for a bit, is you gain access to some amazing people. So I've played cricket with the likes of Jacques, Kallis, Mike Hussey, Shane Watson, Brendan McCullum, you know, some unbelievable cricketers and icons in the world game. And having sat down with them and discussed, you know, their careers and what they've learnt has really benefited me in my career and my life. You know, hearing about their stories, mistakes they've made, successes they've made, you know, I can really relate and draw upon one or two things in my current career, and then also, you know, sort of store that in my bank for what's to come. You know, what did they go through? If I'm faced with or starting to become faced with a similar set of circumstances, how can I apply, you know, Shane Watson's journey to Chris Green's journey, or Mike Hussey's journey to Chris Green's journey? And one of the key things that I'm obviously interested in is leadership, and being a leader. I love leading and captaining teams, but I also love being a very passive leader as well. Like I'm a very active leader, but I love being a passive leader and applying a lot of the knowledge of, you know, captains that I've played under to my cricket in my life is something that I've gained a lot from, and that's purely from those conversations. So,
well, that's like kind of merit and credit to you, because you're a good listener and you're a sponge.
Yeah.
And you seem to be soaking up as much as you can from, well, wisely from the most experienced people you can get it from. And to me, that is a very wise person, that wherever you are in life, whoever you have access to, people won't have access to Jacques, but like you did necessarily, like it's very unique, but to recognize that this is an opportunity and to ask a question, or to be able to have the bravery to be able to position yourself near these people is the simple stuff. This is like the basics. Like, I think it's one of the best advice that we could give people today, is to look around at your network and your circles and find out who is the wisest among your tribe. And it might be an uncle, auntie, it might be a teacher, it might be whoever, in whatever form or industry.
Yeah, for me, you hit the nail on the head in the sponge. That's something I've always talked about, is acting like a sponge and taking as much in as possible. And it more often than not is going to be to your betterment. It's very seldomly I find it can be to your detriment, and it's like, you know, you never know when you're going to need to squeeze it for that little bit of water that you soaked up.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think it comes back to what we were talking about. You can't reach out to your circles or learn and ask the right questions and learn from the answers over a phone. You've got to do that face to face.
Yeah.
And that links in with, you know, that's checking. That can be a form of checking in with your circles or your networks. And then also it can be a way of ensuring that you're still in a really good space. And, you know, often I find and come across people who don't really know their path or where they're going to go on their journey. for me, I'm fortunate right now. I want to be the best cricketer I can be, but cricket doesn't consume my whole life. What else can I find? I'm interested in, starting my own podcast. So how am I gonna do that? That's about talking.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how do I do that? That's interesting, and do I worry about what people may think, or what do I have to share that is interesting? But it's the cool thing about it, and the thing that I guess we keep going back to is it's questions.
Being a good cricket player does not make you a good person.
Yeah.
Or is that safe to say?
Yeah, definitely.
So being a millionaire does not make you a trustworthy human being automatically. It's like you could be really good at a profession, but that does not transfer over to being reliable, intuitive, empathetic, all those, even grateful. And I've often talked to people who, are on the road and they aren't in touch with people. They have no one to call. So even if they have a great win, no one to share it with. Or, God forbid, they have a bad day, no one's there for them, but they're on top of the mountain. What are the most important things in life? Work's one of them. And I want to hear your thoughts on this, because it's like a theory I'm testing out as we go, but I think there's health, and there's your relationships, there's your work, and there's your sense of meaning. And I think those three strands, if you have your health snipped off, well, that affects everything. Your relationships, if your relationship's not doing well, let's say you're isolated, that could affect your health, your mental health and all that. And it could affect your work. So it's like they're all kind of connected. How do you see that? Is there anything you reckon you'd add to that? Because this is a theory I'm actually forming as well.
I think for me, like, I completely agree. Those are like key determining factors. Something that I always come back to for me personally is, you never, in terms of talking about, your emotions when they're high or low due to an event. And it's something I heard, it was very cricket related, but I was able to draw back into life, is you're never as good as you think you are when you're winning, and you're never as bad as you think you are when you're losing. Cool. So it really brings in that sort of levelness into life, and for me, in something that I've, as I said, focused on is just being very present in the right now, and not worrying about or thinking about what you did yesterday or what could come tomorrow. Is being very present. Is what do I want to do today, and how do I want to do that to the best of my ability.
One of the best things I've heard of is actually from the Bible, actually, about that. It was actually Jesus who said this. He said, the best metric for success is the day. So like, give us today our daily bread, because tomorrow has enough worries of itself, he said. And anxiety is about the future, fearing that you're going to lose something in the future, fearing that you're going to have less of something in the future. So it's future related, it's not present related. It could be triggered from thinking, I had a bad run in the past, therefore I'm a bit anxious about the future. But you're not present still, because that's past affecting now, and thinking about that. So it's like what you're saying about today, the present, and mindfulness and stuff are buzzwords, and they're very important words. Doing the moment a disservice. You can only be intimate now, you can only communicate now, so.
Yeah, and that way, again, something I work with my relating cricket to life is you become very process driven rather than results driven. And that's something that we talk about in cricket is okay, result is obviously the win or lose, but we'd have no control over results when you actually break it down. And something that we've discussed and that Shane Watson sort of passed on to me is a formula for results. So the formula for results is A times B equals results. A is everything you can control, B is everything you can't, and because B is therefore 0, it means you have no control over results.
That's brilliant.
So therefore what can I focus on? And everything is the A factors. So for me, it's like, is it it's my preparation, it's my mental space, and that is very much in the moment right now. And when your focus all of a sudden just sort of narrows in, because I think in cricket and in life there are so many distractions that can take you away from where you are right now, and that's where the power of the process versus the focus on results is something that I think can be really beneficial to in aiding that. Okay, well, what I want to do today, what's my process, and that's all I can control.